Welcome back, everybody, to Mudstomp Solves, channel where we solve cardboard puzzles, 3D puzzles, 3D block builds, pen and paper puzzles, and basically anything that involves putting one and one together, following instructions, or not having instructions. In today's video, we're going to do something that I've been holding on to for a very long time. I'll just say very quickly, it's a very hot day today. I've got windows open, so if there is a bit of background noise, I do apologise, but it's stinking hot. Anyway, this build I've been hanging on to for over a year. I can't even remember when I looked, when I first bought this. This was basically my first block buy. So if you can imagine all the block videos I've done, I bought this before all of those. And I actually bought it as a bit of a set. So there is the Tyrannosaurus Rex. If you go back through my shorts to over a year ago, there is that build shown in there. But today we're going to do this one in particular. And this is 1968 pieces it claims, and it ends up being about 50 centimeters long, and I think it's, where was it? Can't remember off the top of my head. It was something like 20 centimeters high or something like that. So for American people, it's about 2/3 of a foot high, or what's that? 2/3 is roughly 8 inches high, and 50 centimeters long is about 1.5 foot long, thereabouts, maybe a bit longer, but yeah. So anyway, this is going to be quite a big build, but I've been waiting to do this. It's got a massive booklet with it, lots of instructions and paneling and all of that, as you can see. So there's a lot of fun to be had there. I have sorted out all the blocks already into different piles and that. I'll show you that in a second to basically make it easier to build. So having a quick look through the 1900 odd pieces. So we've got in this tray, I've put all the dark green pieces, which is basically the bulk of the build. If you have a look at the picture, again, there's quite a lot of these dark green, and in sorting them out, I had to try and sort of split them into categories where I could differentiate them. So like I've got this 3 long steppish type thing, and the 2x2 flats, and the 2-way single dots in one bit, whereas over here we've got the single dots, the 3 long with the curves, and the single angled upright bits. And then there's all sorts of others. So we've got like 4x1 long, 6x1s, 6x2s, 8x2s, I think those are, and 4x2s, and then they're 4x2s with the slant as well. Yeah, all sorts of ones in that one. We then have all the other colors mixed in together here. Basically, they're all very small piles, so it's sort of just trying to keep them separate. Like, for example, this one is just all the really odd pieces, so you've got the brown sticks and things like that, whereas these are all sort of more regular shapes, if you will. I'm trying not to shake these so they don't mix up, so I'm being very careful not to move these much at all. And then in the puzzle lid, I've got a few more of the dark greens mixed in. These are just like where there's 2 or 3 of them. And then basically all the plates. So we go from a small plate is a 4x6. We have a 6x8. I think these are 8x8 from memory. These are 4x8. And then I've got a few sticks. So these are the 10x2s and the 10x1s for the sticks, and then the other colors, obviously. So yeah, that's how I sort of organized it to be easy to access and hopefully cut down a lot of time of building. As you can see, got all those blocks sorted out so that it's going to make it a lot quicker, hopefully. I'm probably going to time lapse the vast majority of this, but I wanted you to see where I'm at with it, and or where we're starting, I should say, because I'm not anywhere with it. But I hope to get this build done pretty quickly so we can show it off. I will note too, it's rated as a 5-star difficulty. This was when the first ones came out. So again, this was one of the first Unco Kmart mini block sets. It was labeled Construction Minis, or Mini Blocks, Construction Blocks Mini. They use slightly different labels now. These kinds of sets aren't around anymore. A lot of their newer sets and the sets that came out just after this, you see them repeated and restocked. This set I've never seen again. So yeah, if I see it again, I might be tempted to get another set because they were really cheap. They were really, really cheap per piece build and all that. They went up to that standard that I love. And yeah, so I'm guessing on the large part of it, if they ever come out again, they'll probably cost more, to be honest, but they seem to be a bit more after using bigger blocks, normal size, the average Lego size block, if you will, in more of the bigger builds now. So yeah, this was a very early, grabbed it off the shelf, very happy with it. So anyway, let me get into it, show you a few steps while I talk, and then we'll jump into time lapse and see how it goes from there, or something to that effect. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to film all of this yet, but yeah, I'll show it off when we get done, or something to that effect. All right, here we go. Well, there you have it, folks. We've finally finished the Brontosaurus, is what this one actually is. It's been a relatively nice build, to be honest. The plate at the beginning stuck together quite well and stayed quite flat, so that was nice. I have found in the past with some of these sort of bigger builds that the things can get warped and other parts can get really fragile as you go along, but honestly speaking, this was quite good for the most part. I haven't had too many issues with anything falling off or not being attached very well and all the rest of it. And it now gets to join what I may have hinted as the previous setup or shown. I previously did the T-Rex and the Triceratops. About a year and a half ago, maybe, I did the T-Rex as a series of shorts before I started doing my daily puzzles. And then I did the T-Rex a couple of months later, didn't film it, and then I finally got to doing this Raptor as a more recent one. So we now have 4 budding dinosaurs. What I will say is these 3 are a set. I've never seen this set again since I had it. I think I mentioned that earlier in the video. They're nice big booklets. They're about 60 steps a piece, as you've probably seen from the videos. There's a lot of parts to put in each step. So it is a bit of a, it's not like Lego where it's like 2 or 3 pieces at once sort of thing. It's like lots of pieces at once. So it's a bit to track. But once you get a base or you get the start of the body and then you can sort of work from there, it's not too bad. They're all around 2,000, just shy of 2,000 pieces. The Raptor is a new one, still can get that. So as per usual, this is Anko mini blocks from Kmart in Australia. I'm sure you can find them elsewhere online. The Raptor, interestingly enough, is around, instead of the others being around 60 steps, this is about 175 steps. So the booklet is noticeably heavier. It's about twice the size. It's got a lot of pieces still, but I would argue, like just as this one as an example, this would be 2 steps in the other ones. They're doing front and back basically, and maybe even 3 of these would become, sorry, not this, 2 of these would be 1 step in the other, or even 3. So yeah, it's definitely A lot more steps. I will say this Raptor base is more fragile, very not flat, unfortunately. These bases are a lot bigger, but I will say the T-Rex is a little bit wobbly. So the four-legged dinosaurs are definitely getting flatter bases for some reason. They're just bigger and better, I guess, in that way. Overall, they're really fun builds. They're quite solid. There are some tiny bits in most of them that are a little bit fragile. Now, the main ones that come to mind with the Triceratops, building this, for lack of a better, the frond, if you will, of the back of the head, the flayed bit. I can't think of the right word, but that back wide section was a little bit fragile, and the tail's a little bit fragile, but mostly it was quite solid. The T-Rex was pretty solid. The Brontosaurus, the tail was getting a little bit thin, but it's still pretty good. On the other hand, the Raptor is very fragile. The tail was getting very thin. I've knocked the tail off a few times since I've built it. The legs are not super strong. The legs on these other three are just that couple of dots thicker, I'll say. So the Raptor legs are like maybe 4 to 6 blocks, where dots, pieces wide, whereas these ones are sort of 6 to 8, I think. I've actually had the whole Raptor tip off and break in the middle of the leg, so I've had to reattach it a few times. Strangely enough, the last time I've attached it, it stayed for, it's probably been close to a month now, I guess. But it's like, I try not to touch it. I just leave it sitting there. So once these are mounted on my shelf, it's going to be like sealed in, not moving, not touching. But yeah, would I prefer this old set over the Raptor? I've got to say probably yes. You can see the Raptor's quite a bit bigger, which is cool. Like, it's a neat big build and all that. But these just seem that little bit more solid is all I'm going to say. And I think that I just enjoyed them a lot more in that way. But so it's a shame that that set doesn't seem to be around anymore. I think it was definitely, I have a feeling that was the first set that they produced as the mini construction blocks. And I saw it and went, great, I'm grabbing them. They were literally like, I think they were $10 a box. So it was basically like a $1 to 200 pieces buy on these. Whereas nowadays it's more of a 200 pieces to $1. Whereas now it's more like 100 pieces to $1 in the big sets for a good buy. So yeah, they were a lot cheaper in that regard, and I really enjoyed them a lot. The colors are nice. The dark green in this one was a little bit frustrating to deal with in the pictures, to see the separations of the blocks so that I knew what I was putting where. But for the most part, it was all right. The Raptor, on the other hand, they've got 3 different greens and they don't differentiate them in the pictures. So I had to figure it out based on what I was building, because one of the greens looks like one of the other ones in the pictures. So in that sense, I would almost say that the quality's possibly declined a little bit in that way, but overall the block quality is still the same. The 3D build of it is really still much the same. Again, the shapes that you come up with the gradual change of layers and angles and that is just amazing. It's one thing I really noticed with the Brontosaurus, that it's just this gradual gradient that shifts and changes with different depths of block and whatnot. And it just, they're just beautiful. Not to mention too, so this bag here is all the leftover pieces from the Brontosaurus. And I've had similar with every single Anko build. All of these have had a bag about that big. So I now have like some really big bags worth of leftover pieces. And I'm seriously considering building something out of them in the near future. I just don't know what, because there's no big blocks left over, unfortunately. There's a couple of longer blocks, but not like plates or anything. But yeah, other than that, like, these are just terrific builds. And to be honest, like, they're just really nice pieces to have on your shelf. So if you were wondering about buying one, I would definitely recommend it. And if you find these old ones anywhere, I would snap them up, because they're just beautiful and they're just lovely to have. So yeah, I think that's about it, to be honest. There's not much else to say. It's just a really lovely block brand. I have been going on about these for yonks now, I suppose. If you check back in all my other videos, I'm pretty happy with them. The robot build was probably one of the few that was a little bit disappointing in some ways. That's the larger blocks though, not the mini blocks. But with all the mini blocks, these 3D buildings from them all, everything I've got, like between the fruits, the foods, the birds, the mini creatures, everything, it's just been a really enjoyable thing, and they create really lovely structures. And I think the variety amongst all the blocks is really lovely too. My only thing about them is my fingers get really sore. Pushing little tiny blocks on this can hurt a lot after a while, so I do have to do it in patches usually. But yeah, largely other than that, it's just, they're really lovely builds. So anyway, I'm going to finish it up there. I think next week I'm going to do another 1,000-piece puzzle. The 15K bag to whichever bag I do is going to have to wait a little bit longer. I've had a really busy week, and I'm going to try and get to that soon, but I'm going to do a bit of an easier puzzle for this week, hopefully, and get ahead a little bit more. I've got another different kind of 3D build coming up to show off. I'm hoping to have that done the next week. So yeah, got big plans still coming as per usual. And yeah, I'll try to sort of keep you posted as I go. I think after that block build, I want to try and do a gem art, which I've never done before. Just feels like it fits in with the theme of the channel. So as per usual, I'm going to try and keep puzzles every second week and try and do this gem art. So that gem art will probably be in about 4 videos time, if I do it. Otherwise, I'll find something else to do. I do have a Lego wave. I think I mentioned that before. That's a big build coming up. So that's going to be in the next couple of months. Hopefully I'm going to get that done, but that's a big build. So we'll see how we go. I think it's around, I want to say 6,000 pieces. I could be wrong, but anyway. All right, as per usual, if you're still here, thank you very much for watching, and do all the things, the like, subscribe, and comments if you want to keep me going. And otherwise, I'll see you next week in another puzzle video. That's it for today. Let's talk about. Bye.